Hi guys, this is Matt Granger, that Nikon guy. Welcome back to the conclusion of our four-way shootout between the Nikon 50mm primes. We looked at the 1.8D, the 1.8G, the 1.4G and the 1.2 manual focus. If you haven't checked out all the parts in the series, I suggest you do because my conclusions are based on what's in those and I'm kind of assuming that you've seen it. Now, to be honest, I'm really impressed with how all of these perform. I can see why there's quite clear different steps in the pricing of these lenses, and it may be, a bit confusing to think about which one really is justifying the price, which one's best for my needs, which is why I made this video, to be honest. So let me go through each of them and give you my overall thoughts. So first of all, the 1.8D. This is the cheap and cheerful plastic lens built in China. No special coatings, the most simple construction out of all of the lenses. It's not an AFS, it doesn't have a built-in autofocus motor, and it's really, really cheap. That said, this can produce some really beautiful images. Take a look at the one on bokeh. This is a strong performer, and on sharpness, again, a strong performer. And on vignetting, definitely not one of the worst ones. So if you're looking for a 50mm and you don't have a load of money, then you can't go too wrong with this. It really is good for the price. It's a bargain for the price. The build quality isn't there, but the optical quality is pretty good. Now, the 1.8G. This one is the most recent of all the lenses. This was just announced a while back, and I understand they're still pretty much sold out around the world. And my buddy loaned me this one because I don't actually own this one. But I am so impressed with this. It's just fantastic. Comparing it to the 1.4G, as I said in the build quality video, the build quality isn't quite as good as the 1.4G, but it's still very good. It's a G lens, which means it's gelded. It also has a silent wave motor. It doesn't have the nano crystals, and it doesn't have any special glass in it. But it focuses quite well, not the best out of these lineup, but reasonably well. And the image quality, the sharpness and the bokeh are right up there. So keep that one in mind and we'll come back to it. The 1.4G is a big jump in price over the 1.8G. It's also a big jump in weight, and it's a 50% jump in light. So there's definitely applications for it. I personally own this one. I've been using it for weddings and portraits a lot. The focus is brilliant. The bokeh is lovely, and the sharpness is pretty darn good. Not the best in this group, but pretty good. It's a really, really solid lens. If you've got a bit more money to spend, then, well, like I said, I own this one, so I'm not about to bag it. I really like the results it produces. We'll revisit that again in a second. And then finally is the 1.2 manual focus. Now, this has a special place in my heart, wherever my heart is, over here, I think. It's just a joy to use. If you've ever used one, you'll know what I mean when I say it's got such a different feel to the other lenses. It really is metal, glass and rubber. That's what you're dealing with. No plastic, no, cheap elements in there. It's just beautifully constructed, and it feels like I don't know if this is true, but it feels like it's been put together by hand by a craftsman, as opposed to these which you could believe have been assembled by a machine and then just put into boxes. Not to knock these are all fine, but there's just something about using an old manual focus lens. It's very expensive. The vignetting is, quite significant at 1.2, 1.4 and 1.8 even. But in terms of sharpness, it destroys these other newer lenses. In terms of bokeh, again, for me, it's the winner. In terms of contrast, see the image quality and sharpness video I did, the test shots on the orange. I think there's more fine contrast and detail on this lens than any of the other three lenses, and it's just beautiful. I'll definitely be using this on my portrait shoots and that sort of thing. Pretty much most commercial things, except I probably wouldn't use it at all events or at a wedding, just because it is a little bit slower to focus. I'm not the fastest in the world, but see the focusing section, with the focus confirmation system, it's pretty user-friendly. I wouldn't let that put you off. And I love it. I'd have to say, out of all of them, It is my favorite. If you've got the money and you're interested to play with manual focus, or you want something that throws back to the quality of old days, you can't go wrong with the 1.2. But in terms of which one overall is the best, I'm going to revert back to the quality and performance you get per dollar invested. The 1.8D is super cheap. The 1.8G is, a couple of times more expensive. The 1.4 is a couple of times again more expensive. And then the 1.2 is almost double again. I have to say, the one that I don't own, the 1.8G, blew me away. If I had to recommend, without knowing your personal circumstances or budget or what you're going to be using it for, I'd say go for the 1.8G. For the price, the image quality is astounding. The focus is almost as good as the 1.4. I'd say the sharpness is better than the 1.4. The bokeh, well, you got a bit less light to play with. It's a 1.8 instead of a 1.4. But at 1.8, they're really quite comparable. And the price is so reasonable. It's just a fabulous lens. There's a reason why it's sold out all around the world. Now, if they threw in some ED glass and the nano crystals on it and charged $100 extra, I would go out and buy this one. To be perfectly honest, now that I have the 1.2 that I'll use in a lot of situations, I'm tempted to sell my 1.4G and buy the 1.8G for myself. I'd probably sell the 1.8D as well and then just keep the 8G and the 1.2. This one's got an aperture ring, so the main reason I kept the 1.8D is so I could use it on my old film cameras that need an aperture ring. Well, I got that with this, and this doesn't have any advantages over using this one. So that's my overall thoughts. If you haven't seen all of the series, please watch them before you leave any specific questions, because I'm pretty confident you might find your answer there. I hope that's been useful. Thank you to the viewers who prompted me to make this series with your questions. And given the feedback that this one's had so far, I'm looking at doing a 24-70 comparison between brands and possibly an ultra-wide comparison between brands as well, along the lines of the 70-200 shootout I did last year. So if you found this series useful, please do me a favor and click to like, click to subscribe, and if you're going to buy one of those lenses, I'd really appreciate if you use one of the links below. That Nikon Guy is all done for free, and your support would really help me. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you soon. This is Matt Granger, That Nikon Guy.